November 5th, 2025. This is Information Security Now. Information Security Now is a live stream about various InfoSec issues, current events occurring today, occurring now. One of the big ones that we spoke about earlier is Jaguar Land Rover. That one apparently is a really, really devastating attack. Instructed factory staff to stay at home until at least Tuesday. They're grappling with the cyber attack, forced the company to take vital IT systems offline. Production's been halted, car sales disrupted, and it's owned by Tata Motors, which is an Indian company, shut down its systems on Sunday to limit potential damage. The attack occurred at a popular time for consumers to take a delivery of a new vehicle when new registration plates became available on 1st of September. Disruption extends beyond production lines, with networks of part suppliers forced to restrict their operations. Cars are very complicated items. I've heard the complexities of the supply chain of a car span various countries, and some parts come back and forth. I've heard it's a very complex supply chain. The disruption extends well beyond JLR's own production lines. Parts list is a giant database of items that relates to every single car. And if they can't find a part, they can't buy them, they can't fix the car. That's a huge issue. They haven't necessarily released what happened yet, but their state the group is linked to the Marks and Spencer cyber attack, English speaking. They have a Telegram channel where they post screenshots. And that Telegram channel has multiple different hacking groups. Scattered Spider, young hackers blamed for attacks on M&S, Co-op, and Harrods. Teenagers were arrested as part of an investigation into the cyber attacks. This is by The Guardian. Halted production at key sites, proactively shut down its systems. The interesting thing about InfoSec and cyber is it can go across multiple domains. You have enterprise level, which is what we're seeing here, Jaguar Land Rover. And then it also spans to personal attacks, which can occur as well. Very devastating items are infrastructure-based, supply chain-based attacks. So here it states in The Guardian that an executive order signed by the Biden administration established guardrails around U.S. government's use of spyware and placing one of Paragon's rival spyware makers, NSO Group, on a Commerce Department blacklist. Due to maliciously target the phones of dissidents in foreign governments. So multiple spyware makers attempting to differentiate themselves. And spyware is very, I'm not sure what to say. It's difficult to regulate something like that. Oh, this is a different article, excuse me. That was a different article. So JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, didn't give more details of the incident. Severely affected its suppliers. And a bunch of different members of the Telegram group shared related documentation proving that or insinuating they did it. And this is a very tumultuous time for Jaguar Land Rover. Impact of US tariffs, declining sales. And these are international groups. So just cyber criminal activity is organized. It's probably the most fruitful and profitable form of organized crime, but these are full-blown units of individuals that come together across the world, and they're very intelligent, they're very powerful, very impressive. Okay, we'll continue. This is from News 3LV. Nevada governor says no DMV data stolen in statewide cyber attack. DMV will resume processing registrations and title transfers. State's core system remains secure, the core financial system, and did not involve any personal information being released. Discovered on August 24th and shut down fairly quickly. Okay. Here's another one, Financial Times. It highlights an individual who claims credit for this was the second Jaguar Land Rover attack in 6 months. Halted vehicle production. This is from a global security advisor, quote, showed how young hacking groups were brazenly confident about not getting caught, which added extra salt in the wound for victims, unquote. Money and notoriety. That's what they're after. Often in their mid-teens to early 20s. It's difficult. If you do a lot of history, get into the history of cybersecurity, especially, of course, after the 50s when the computer and the internet started coming out, particularly the internet, a lot of people get caught. So it is impressive. It is very impressive. And not many people are willing to do it or even understand how they could do it. How some 22-year-old in some suburb out in West Europe or something is able to just hack into one of the top automotive companies in the country. Okay, this is from the Cyber Scoop. House panel approves cyber information sharing grant legislation as expiration deadlines loom. Advanced legislation Wednesday that would reauthorize a major cyber threat information sharing law. Support from the White House. Dangerous ramifications about the collapse of cyber threat data exchanges. Yes. Because as we've seen, these attackers don't aim for one corporation. The one that we just spoke about, JLR, was also took credit for the attack on Marks and Spencer's. And usually these things come in waves where if information isn't shared between the victims, it's in the benefit of the attacker. Legal protections to private sector to share threat data with the federal government. The panel approved 25-0 would reauthorize it for another 10 years. It's very difficult for the government, as we've spoken about just here with Nevada getting hacked, Pennsylvania got hacked, Minnesota got hacked, or Minneapolis. The president and the vice president's information was also hacked last year. It's very difficult. Not to say it's their fault, but especially government systems, which are not always updated appropriately, or really the newest age of system, it's more vulnerable. We'll continue. The House Security Committee voted 21-0 to advance Generative AI Terrorism Risk Assessment Act, required Department of Homeland Security to conduct annual assessments on how terrorist groups use AI to carry out terrorist activity. AI is scary. That's a lot of knowledge. And we spoke about this before. What happens when the best nuclear engineer is an AI? Then what? How do you handle that? It's scary because AI is a tool in your toolbox, and people think it's human and whatnot. I'm not necessarily there. I think maybe when it becomes more interactional and the conversations between you and the AI become more human, if possible, maybe then. But it's still a tool and a fantastic tool. And so if your goal is to build a nuclear weapon, that's a great tool. If it allows you, I'm not sure if those companies have embedded into the model, don't help people engineer weapons or something like that. But if they haven't, it's a tool to reach a goal. Okay, so House panel, they voted 22-1, protecting information by local leaders, doled out $1 billion. These are various programs for cybersecurity. Okay. So they're saying that the hackers against Jaguar Land Rover were adolescents, which is crazy. They suspended production and assembly lines across UK, Slovakia, China, India, and Brazil. That's really crazy. They sentenced one hacker to 10 years in prison in U.S. federal prison for stealing cryptocurrency from 59 victims. The NCA in Great Britain arrested multiple suspects in June. But again, these are organized crime syndicates, similar to the ones around the world that don't necessarily do cybercrime, but other types of crime. When one person falls, it's a syndicate, so there's someone there to replace them. Okay, so we'll continue. Disney to pay $10 million for violating children's privacy rules. Walt Disney agreed to pay $10 million to settle allegations, improperly collected personal data from children viewing. Disney failed to correctly designate certain YouTube videos containing child-directed content using default channel level settings, labeled as not made for kids. Allowed features like autoplay comments and personalized advertising to remain active. That makes sense. And I didn't necessarily realize what the not made for kids was. Warned as early as mid 2020 when YouTube corrected over 300 of its videos. Disney will pay the civil penalty and must implement a comprehensive video review program. Okay. Power School sued over data breach. Filed a lawsuit against education technology provider Power School. That was the Texas attorney compromised the personal information of more than 880,000 students. Cloud-based software to K-12 schools collects and manages sensitive enrollment and employment data. The breach occurred in December 2024, exploited a subcontractor's account, gained admin access, and exfiltrated large volumes of unencrypted data. Damn. And this is all coming from Bank Info Security. Spain scraps Huawei deal. The government abruptly canceled a 10 million euro contract awarded to Telefonica for an upgrade of Red IRIS, their academic and research network serving universities. Proposed using equipment manufactured by Huawei. But the cancellation was due to, quote, reasons of digital strategy and technological autonomy, unquote. And then we spoke about Pennsylvania Attorney General getting hacked. It was a ransomware. Mid-August, left its website offline, disrupted email and phone services. AG said the attack involved an outsider encrypting files to extort payment. The office refused to pay. Disclosed on August 11th, officials have not confirmed whether attackers stole sensitive data, but promised to notify. Okay. Oh, this is from last week. Oh, no, this is from yesterday. Hackers grabbed $130 million using Brazil's real-time payment system. Last Friday, wielding valid credentials for an IT service provider. Unauthorized transfer of funds. Some has been recovered. Sinqia, a Brazilian subsidiary of publicly traded Evertech, based in Sao Paulo. That's huge. For a fintech company, I mean, this seems like it was stolen credentials, but it's still huge. Indicate that unauthorized transactions were introduced into Sinqia's PIX environment by exploiting legitimate Sinqia's IT vendor credentials. They halted transaction processing in its PIX environment and began working with outside cybersecurity forensic experts. "94% of adults in Brazil have used it, and 2/3 say it's their most frequent method of payment, slightly ahead of debit cards and cash." That's huge. But 130, I mean, they do $6.4 billion in transactions, so 130 is huge. Yeah, 130 is a large chunk. 130 million. Okay, we'll continue. And finally, we'll end with Anthropic's cloud AI reportedly using vibe hacking. You can put vibe in front of everything. I heard of the term vibe catting, and I use it all the time. Vibe catting is real. You have to be when you do a vibe session in a domain you don't understand, you have to turn into Socrates a bit. You have to become very curious about the goal, very curious about the configuration if you're doing some sort of engineering, very curious about why and are you sure? Is this really going to lead to that? Was the way I did this proper? Because you may do something and not double check against the AI and make assumptions, as few assumptions as possible, and become Socrates. Questions, questions, questions. So if you're a vibe hacker, you likely know what you want to do. And this article doesn't state much about it. Oh, this isn't an article. It's an audio clip. Okay. All right. In that case, I'll end it here. Thank you, everyone. Happy Friday. This is Information Security Now. Hopefully, you all have a great weekend ahead of you. Remember, the weekend isn't